Mac Atram. And I want to say this, you are in for a treat right now because we have a very, very special guest. This special guest by the name of Nicky Billou. Now, Nicky is the number one international best-selling author of the book Finish Line Thinking: How to Think and Win Like a Champion. You know, there are different types of people that you may come across. People who just make excuses, they have all the stories, they can tell you the reasons why they can't do something. And then there are the champion thinking who will find a way. Yeah, things are not going to be smooth. They know it's going to be a lot of obstacles, but they find a way. Not only is he the author, best-selling author of this, but also he has the number one podcast in the world on thought leadership. Now, most of you listening in right now, and I know some of you are consultants, you are coaches, how would you like to be the thought leader in your industry? He's the expert. He's interviewed people like Barbara Corcoran from the Shark Tank, George Ross from The Apprentice. He's interviewed John Maxwell, Mary Folio, and many, many more. Welcome to the Business Success Show, Nicky. Welcome.
Back, man. Thanks for having me here, brother. I'm super pumped to be here.
Likewise, I'm super pumped to be speaking with you. Now, tell me something. You know, you haven't had an easy ride for many years. You know, you came. You know, one of the things I read about you is that you're a Christian who came from a Middle East. So you migrated from a Middle East family. And you talk a lot about freedom. Now, tell us, what does freedom mean to you then, from the background that you've had?
What a fantastic question. So, yes, I am a Christian from the Middle East. I'm actually originally from Iran. And when I was a young boy, the Islamic Revolution was happening in Iran. And my late father, God rest his soul, he could see the writing on the wall, and he decided that this was not going to be a great place for him to raise his family. So he bundled us up and he got us out of Iran and eventually settled in Canada. And I'll tell you, every single day, I thank God and I thank my father for having done this. He changed the trajectory of my whole life and that of my entire family and bloodline. And if you look at what's happening in Iran, I don't know how much attention you pay to the news, Mac, but a young woman named Mahsa Amini was beaten to death for the crime, and I'm obviously being facetious, of walking out in public with her hair showing. They beat her to death, the authorities, to death, okay? And there have been massive protests erupting around Iran and around the world of Iranian women basically saying enough is enough, we want to be free. The security forces have cracked down heavily on the protesters. There have been 75 other deaths in Iran since this has happened. This includes protesters, but it also includes some members of the security forces that have been killed by the protesters as well. And, you know, people over here in the West, it's very fashionable these days among certain circles of people who've never known anything but freedom and plenty. Right. Oh my God, the West, such an oppressive place, so racist, so sexist, it's so terrible to live here. You guys are all horrible. Are you kidding me? Those women in Iran, they're experiencing true oppression. Absolutely. The people there who are Christians, they're experiencing true oppression. Myself, when I was 11 years old, someone threw a Molotov cocktail through our living room window in Iran. There was a note attached to it that said, "Die, Christian scum." My late father saw the Molotov cocktail, landed next to my foot, grabbed it, pulled out the burning wick, stomped out the fire, poured out the gasoline in there. If that had not happened, I would not be here speaking to you, my friend. We all need to understand and appreciate that we live in a free world in the West. We live in a society that maybe isn't perfect, but is doing its darndest to become better and correct its mistakes. And we all need to appreciate freedom. And I believe that those people that falsely accuse people here, good people, of things like oppression, sexism, racism, and they do it to silence voices, to silence dissent. And we all should say that is not cool. You are not allowed to falsely call someone something they're not because you don't like the fact that they're disagreeing with you on another issue. So you're trying to silence them because good people don't want to be accused of being such a horrible, evil, malignant thing. So we here in the West need to understand that. We need to stand up for freedom. And I'm very grateful to be. My father was also, though, Mac, an entrepreneur. And he uplifted people. Dad would, like, if you needed a job, Mac, and he had a job for you, he'd give you a job. If he didn't have a job for you, he'd go call people and pester them until someone gave you a job. If you were trying to start a business, he would set you up in business. Even if you wanted to compete in his industry, he didn't care. He'd set you up. If you worked for him and you were looking to buy a house, an apartment, or a car, and you didn't have enough money, Dad would help you get it. And you might be listening to this going, what? Who does that, man? That guy sounds incredible. Well, yeah, my dad did that. And you might go, why? Well, first of all, he was a Christian and he believed he'd been blessed by God Almighty, and he must, as a Christian, share those blessings. Secondly, though, he did it because he could. He had the financial wherewithal as a successful entrepreneur to be helpful to other people. So I wanted to be like Dad, man. I wanted to help other people. I wanted to make sure that other people were successful. Dad imbued that in me. My business is all about helping good people succeed. And there's a lot of good people out there, Mac. They're really amazing. They have good hearts. But they're afraid to maybe show their hearts to people. And they're afraid that they don't want to push too much. They don't want to come across as pushy, as salesy, like they reek of commission breath. They don't want any of that. So they don't go after business. Good go after Mac. And because they don't go after that business, brother, they don't get it.
Yeah.
And that person that needed their help doesn't get their help. And then some charlatan marketer who has no compunctions about taking money and not delivering does that. And the sum total of good.
So it's a good point you just mentioned there, right? You said there are good people doing good things, but because they do not want to put themselves out there and they don't want to be seen, their service is not purchased, and people go to you call it the charlatan marketer. Right. What is a charlatan marketer? I mean, I know what charlatan means, but I can see the contrast. I want to hear from you. What is a charlatan marketer? Because this good-hearted person did not step up and actually start promoting their services. People are going to this other type of person.
Well, that's a great question. So a charlatan marketer is an individual who basically has intentions of not necessarily caring whether you succeed or not. Their intention is, and if you succeed, it's a happy accident. It's not because they actually cared and imbued themselves with caring to make sure that you win. And, or it could be somebody who sincerely believes that they have something good. They really don't. They don't have the experience. It's like a 26-year-old coming to tell you, I'm going to show you how to get over your divorce. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of individual, right? And the truth of the matter is, I saw this happening to people, and I realized these people needed to reframe how they looked at things. Because to me, selling is not this horrible, evil thing. To me, selling is an act of deep caring and deep love. It's an act of service. So I thought, let's reframe it from selling to serving.
I love
Everybody
that.
wants to be sold, Mac.
I love that.
But everybody wants to be served by a good, caring person. And that's what we teach people to do, is to come from their heart, Mac, to come from the soul within and let people see that you care. You've got to let people know that your belief and desire to be of service and to help is first and foremost what you stand for.
Fantastic. We are not here to sell, we're here to serve. And from reframing that mindset, I'm selling this person, to I'm serving them, it makes the whole selling process easier. So I love that. Listen, one of the reasons we wanted to speak with you is this. You've interviewed so many influencers, so many thought leaders, so many business experts. How does one become a thought leader in their industry?
What a great question. So Matt Church is an Australian man who created the Thought Leaders movement in Australia. He created Thought Leaders Global and the Thought Leaders Business School program. Here's how he puts it. He draws a distinction between an expert and a thought leader. He said an expert is someone who knows something. Experts are a dime a dozen. There's lots of people who know things.
Right.
But a thought leader is someone who's known for knowing something. thought leaders are rare and valuable. When you're a thought leader, the marketplace actually values your expertise. And how you become a thought leader is you stop trying to sound like everybody else. You stop having this, what I call Mayo message. Another mentor of mine taught me this, Mark von Musser. Like, it's just this message that, like, if someone asks you what you do, oh, I'm a life coach. I help people overcome their problems. Oh, that's great. And precisely who is going to pay you money? Nobody.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or, yeah, I'm a transformational transcendence coach. I help people transcend and overwhelm. Okay. That's not a real thing, right? That's not a real issue. But a thought leader thinks deeply about people. Business, my friend, is not about numbers.
Yeah.
Business is about people. All you do in business to become successful is you solve a acute problem that a person has for a profit. That's all business is.
Yeah.
It's about solving acute problems. So if you want to be a thought leader, you need to care deeply about people. You need to care deeply about a particular type of person with a very particular type of acute problem. As an example, there was a client that I worked with. He was a fitness trainer. This young fellow, he wanted to be successful. He wanted to help people. I asked him, what do you do? Well, I help people train. I go, okay, what problem do you solve? Well, I help people work out. That's not a problem, buddy. That's like a way you solve a problem, baby.
Yeah.
And he said, okay. I said, we need to narrow that focus down. So he goes, okay, I'm going to help people lose weight. Yeah, lose weight. That's a problem, right? Go, yeah, that's a problem. You're right. I said, who do you want to work with? Well, my dad's a doctor. Let me work with doctors. Now, keep in mind, this guy didn't have a pot to piss in. His dad was paying his rent because he had 7 clients that he'd ever had.
Oh, wow.
He was making $1,500 a month in the city of Toronto in Canada, man. If you know what things cost over here, you know that's not a living wage, right?
That's right.
$1,500 a month. So Buddy goes, I'm going to go to the marketplace and say, doctors. Yeah, my dad's a doctor. Doctors make money. Well, that's not a good message for doctors. My dad's a doctor and you doctors make money. Come work with me. So then he goes, okay. Didn't work out. I'll narrow it further, Nicky. I'll work with cardiologists. They're even more rich than doctors. They have more money. Oh my God, yeah. That too was a shitty message. My God, yeah, you have more money than doctors. Didn't really work out for him. Then he started working with this African-Cuban gentleman named Papito Wilson. Mr. Wilson was a Paralympic athlete. His leg had been lost in an accident when he was a child. Okay, so he loved working with Wilson. And Papito and my client, they became fast friends. He helped this guy get stronger and fitter and go out there and compete in the games. And I got the sense that he was loving working with this man and with people with missing limbs. And he said to me, Nicky, I'm loving working with this man and with people with missing limbs. And, I thought to myself, maybe he could actually turn this into a good message, And he said, Nicky, maybe I can turn this into a good message. And so he went out there and he said, hey, if you have a missing limb, I'm going to train you. You're going to work out. You're going to get strong. You're going to get fit. You're going to be able to do lots of things that right now you don't think you can do. And guess what? 400 people signed up to work with him. 400 in 6 weeks. He could not do any more one-on-one clients. He had to do group programs and online programs. He didn't have time to take 400 people one-on-one. And his income went up from 1,500 to 25,000, 50,000, and $100,000 a month. A month.
That's fantastic.
This young man made.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And how did this happen? He became a thought leader in working with people with missing limbs. He understood the mentality that they had. He understood nobody was going after these folks. He understood these were good people who were hurting, who were emotionally hurting because the world was treating them like they were less than, not good enough. And he was telling them, nope, you're just as powerful, just as strong as anybody else. And that message just took, and he became known for it. And they sought him out.
That's a great story right there in terms of him really niching down and getting clear on who he's going to work with, what their problems are, how he's going to serve them, and really being able to speak their language. I think that's the thought leadership you are talking about. Now, one of the things that I heard you talk about before, and I want our audience to know this, is if someone wanted to add an extra million to their sales in 3 years, say, right, and grow their coaching consultancy practice to $1 million a year or more, what is some process or a methodology that you could share that will allow them to do that? Clearly, it probably starts with mindset, I should think.
Absolutely. You've got to believe that you can win, right, Mac? If you don't believe you can win, that's not really going to work too well for you. And unfortunately, these days, a lot of people don't believe they can win. So what we really do is we help people believe they can win. And inside of our world, we have a community of people, and there's people that have won, and nothing makes you believe that you can win than when you're in a peer group full of people who've already won, and you go, okay, if that guy can do it, that gal can do it, I can do it too. So that's number one. Obviously, what we talked about before, coming from a place of caring for people and letting people see that you care, and showing that's important. I think that's foundational to success. And then we talked about this as well. You've got to have a powerful message. You got to have a dialed in message. You can't have a Mayo message, right? And then this is the other thing. So many people in industry, they undercharge. They don't own their value, brother. You know what I mean? So they work way too hard for way too little money. And here's what happens, right? There's only two reasons they don't own their value. One is they don't really believe that they're any good, or two is they believe they're good. They just don't think the market will pay. They're trying to price according to the market, but that's a mistake. That's a massive mistake. You should never price according to the market. You should only price according to the value of the solution to the problem you're solving. So as an example, let's say you're a relationship coach and you work with men whose wives said sayonara, and let's say that you work with men who are entrepreneurs with $10 million companies. Well, here's what you're doing when you work with these men. When you help them save their relationship, you're saving them at least $7 million. Right. You're saving them tons of emotional anguish. And then, okay, you're talking to a guy, he's all sold, he wants to work with you. So what do you charge? Well, I charge $50 a session. The guy's going to lose all trust in you, man.
Wasn't that up,
lose
right?
your cool. You're going to lose your mojo. They're going to go, oh my God, who is this guy? He doesn't know what he's doing. He does, like, come on, 50. Who charges $50 for something like that?
Yeah.
Now, if that same dude walked up to the guy and said, no, I charge 50 grand for my program, 50 grand. And that guy take him super seriously. Go, hey, I mean, this guy, he knows what he's doing, right? When you don't charge enough, you rob your client of the value of your solution. You also rob yourself of the ability to grow your business. So, I had a client. He was a healing man. He did acupuncture, and he had a clinic in New York, in Manhattan. And he had these A-list clients. He had, like, Robert De Niro was a client of his, right? I mean, cool stuff. And the amount he charged for his work was ridiculously low. And he was making $150,000, which sounds like a lot, but in Manhattan, that's nothing.
That's nothing.
Yeah.
It
just goes away like that. So he wanted to make $1 million. And I said, all right, okay. You got a good message. We're clear. You got good clients. They trust you. Don't charge enough. 20-fold your prices. Wow. 20-fold my prices. Okay. Are you crazy, Nicky? I can't 20-fold my prices. No one's ever going to pay. He hyperventilated. I literally hyperventilated. Calm down, buddy. It's all good. It's going to be okay. I said, look, these people need you to charge more so they get the value of the solution. Otherwise, they think they're buying cheap crap. He wouldn't 20-fold it, but he did 7-fold his prices. Brother, 7-folding his prices got him 20 times the number of clients.
Because he increased his price, not decreased his price, right? My goodness.
He went from 150,000 to 1.2 million in 4 months.
Right.
4 months. Why?
Yes.
Because he owned this price. He owned his value. He didn't undervalue himself. And the market valued him properly because he was delivering a health solution to people with health issues. People worried about collapsing because they were under so much stress. He dealt with all of that.
Wow.
That's a beautiful thing. That takes you to $1 million if you can have your value be properly owned by you. You know what I'm trying to say about that?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
So,
You gotta leverage too. You know, Mac, leverage is important too. Leverage is super important. So many people don't leverage their time. So they go, okay, the only way I can work is as a one-on-one coach. There's no other way. And they undercharge them one-on-one. There's no leverage in that. Like, honestly, doing group programs is better than one-on-one for most people. Why? Because they don't just learn from you, they learn from their peers.
everybody else, yeah.
So if you have a group program, you help people more and you make more money because you can charge more than you would charge for one-on-one, and you see people in a group. It's a beautiful thing.
Fantastic.
It's a wonderful and beautiful thing, right? And I'll tell you this, the final thing that people need to do is they need to invest in themselves. Robin Sharma, the author of the legendary book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, happens to be a friend of mine. He also happens to have been a former client of mine. I used to be a high-level fitness coach.
All right.
And there was a point in time where, you know, I was doing decently as a fitness coach. But, you know, Robin was kind of like coaching me while I made him, you know, push harder and all that jazz. And he said to me, he said, Nicky, so, you know, what's your goal? How do you want to? I said, I want to make $1 million a year. And he said, okay, great. He said, how much do you invest in yourself? I go, well, what do you mean? He goes, how much do you invest in yourself? I go, I suppose I spent like $1,500 last year on, like, you know, going to some courses. And he said, dude, you need to tenfold that. What? Tenfold that? He goes, yeah. I said, that's a lot of money, man. I can't put $10,000 into that. He said, listen, it's an investment. It's going to come back multiplied. And he said to me this very powerful thing: if you ever want to double your income in any given year, triple your investment in personal and professional development. If you ever want to double your income in any given year, triple your investment in personal and professional development. So I listened to him and it worked. It worked for me. And I'll tell you something else. If you are in business, if you're a coach, if you're a consultant, if you're a business owner, you must invest in your most important asset, which is you.
Absolutely.
You are the most important asset in your business. You got to hire the mentors. You got to hire the coaches. You got to go to the conferences. You got to go do the courses.
Yeah.
You got to read the books. You know, you got to do it all. You got to do the self-care, the massages, the personal trainers.
Yeah, you did it. I mean,
coaches. You got to put money and time into that stuff. That's what's going to get you to that next level, bro. Nothing else will. And if you're sitting here to do nothing more, I'm not going to put out any more money. I'm going to do less, in fact, and expect to get more. That's not how the world works.
It's not going to happen.
You shrink within yourself, your income will shrink with you. You expand without yourself, your income will expand with you. You must hire the right mentors. But the right mentors aren't just anybody. You got to hire someone with a proven track record of success. Someone who's helped, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 people at 100,000, 500,000, 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, 38.5 million, like we did for one of our clients, more to their income. And you need to have someone who cares, someone who will lock arms with you and walk with you through the fire to make sure you win, someone who won't let you stay small, someone who will force you to have conversations with people so you help those people and you get business that way. That's the kind of mentor you need, someone on fire for you.
Excellent.
You do all of that, brother. 3 years to $1 million is 98.75% guaranteed.
There you go. You heard it from Nicky Billou himself. Man's on fire, full of energy, which is fantastic. And I want to say this, make sure you are following the Business Success Club. Make sure you are subscribed to listen, to hear more from people like Nicky Billou. Amazing content, amazing expert, authority, thought leader in what he's doing. It's changing the lives of business owners and entrepreneurs all over. So, Nicky, let me ask you this, that you mentioned something that all you got to do is this, and I get it, and I totally agree with you. You've got to invest in yourself. You've got to have the right mindset. You've got to find the right mentor. I agree with all of that. Fantastic. And if it's that, this question is intentional. Why don't more people do that, do you think?
Look, because it's simple, but it's definitely not easy.
Right.
It's simple, but it's definitely not easy.
Right.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there who are lonely, man. They're lonely. That is the scourge of the modern world. One of the books I wrote, it's called The Power of Connecting, How to Activate Profitable Relationships by Serving Your Network. We delve deeply into studies in this book that talk about how lonely people are around the world. You know, in Japan, there are fully 20% of the people that don't have one friend they ever see.
My goodness.
Ever.
That is.
Ever. And in North America, that figure is climbing. It's climbing in the UK. Why? Because of these things in a big way. These darn things are preventing us from connecting in so many ways, from having the real human experience. Human beings need to connect. We were put here by God Almighty to live, to love, to grow, to contribute, and to learn.
Agree.
You cannot do that without people. You have to talk to people. You have to be around people. If you're by yourself, the chattering monkeys in your head will take you out.
Absolutely.
Take you out. But when you have people around you, on the days that you wake up and you're not feeling your best and you're saying stupid things to yourself, someone's going to come to you and say, Mac, how are you?
That's right.
Go, oh, it's Nicky. Hey, Nicky, I'm good, man. Even though maybe inside you weren't so good. And then I'll go, that's fantastic. It's good to see you, man. Your smile's infectious, brother. Let's rock and roll. And we high five. You know, we do some fist bumps. We clasp hands. We give each other a hug. The energy transfers to you. And you're like, okay, I'm feeling good right now. You know what I mean? And you could have started that morning not feeling so good. And then there'll be a day where I'm feeling crappy and you'll see me, you go, Nicky, how are you? Oh, man, yeah, great. And the same process goes through and the energy transfers comes from you to me. And the reason people are not succeeding, man, is because they're not part of a collective group, a team that moves them forward, brother. And I tell you, that's the most, I'm so blessed that I'm part of communities and I run communities by myself, man. I go crazy.
Yeah, I get it. I hear you on that.
Crap to myself all day long.
Listen, tell me something, Nicky. For those who want to connect with you, this has been great content. This has been great stuff. You've shared a lot of stuff. You've got great energy. It's infectious. Those who want to connect with you, what's the best way to connect with you, to learn from you, to study from you, to, hey, just ask you a question, whatever?
I got a website called eCircleacademy.com. There's tons of resources there, but there's something there called a book a success call button. And you click on that button and you just say to me, I was listening to Mac's show and I want to have a conversation. Fill out a bit of an application form that goes with there. And then let's sit down, let's talk. That's the best way to connect is talk. Right. You want to go on social media and do it that way, that's fine. That's a connection. But if you really want to have a connection, then let's go mano a mano or mano a womano, and let's make that happen that way. And Mac, can I close off with one last story?
Hey, go for it. It's yours, buddy.
All right. So this story will bring it all home. So a few years ago, four and a bit years ago, 4 and almost 3/4 years ago, actually, a woman came to us. She had been the country director for one of the world's leading personal development organizations, been around since the 60s, and she was Canada's country director. She brought on this dude to help her grow the business. And unfortunately, he was the wrong dude and it didn't work. And she just ended up leaving herself. So for 18 months, she's floundering. She's by herself, trying to figure this out. And it's not working. You know what I mean? Everything she knew wasn't happening. She found out about us and saw that there's some people that she knew, including this fellow with the acupuncture clip. She knew this guy and she saw him grow and she said, oh my God, if he can do it, I can do it. So she became a part of the community and it really, really helped her. In her first month, she did 10,000. In her second month, she did 12,000. In her third month, she did 18,000. In her fourth month, she did $62,200. It was a huge result. You know what I mean? It was a fantastic, beautiful result. Yeah. So then she lives in Ottawa and I live in Toronto in Canada, a 5-hour drive apart. My eldest boy was 12 at the time. He's 16 now. And he plays football, soccer, right? Okay. And, back then he was just a kid playing, 12 years old, but right now he's actually become quite good. He's got a real shot at a career at it and all that good stuff. Okay. And, we had a tournament in Ottawa. So I was driving my son And I called her up and I said, hey, you have a son my son's age. He's got a tournament in Ottawa. How'd you like to bring him over? Maybe, you guys can watch a game or so and we can all go have lunch together. And she said, that sounds great. So we did that. And, the lunch was lovely. The kids had a good time. And then we all, we took off. We went back home and they went to their house in Ottawa. So a few weeks later, we had one of our quarterly branded thought leader immersion workshops. These are our events where we help, coaches and consultants really dial in their message, get clear on their ideal target market, get a ton of belief in themselves and a belief in that it's possible for them to win. And we take them from a place where they're not feeling like they can really win to a place where they are feeling they can win, and we show them how to win. So that's what this is. So there was a portion of this where there was a bunch of new people in the room, about 8 prospects, if you will.
Right.
And it was time for us to do our upsell, our enrollment opportunity, as it were.
Okay. Yeah.
And the way I do the upsells is I actually bring in our people and I ask them to talk about their experience rather than me saying, hey, you guys should come and do this. And if they're there live, they do it live. If not, we have some pre-recorded segments and we show those, and it's great. And I asked if anybody wanted to share, and boom, she jumped on stage before I could even call
wow
her. Mimi. I'm like, all right, cool, it's great. I knew she had a lot of success to share. And she all of a sudden she puts her hands on her hips and she looks around, and then she proceeds to bawl, cry. Oh my God.
Oh wow.
And like any red-blooded man faced with a crying woman, I proceeded to panic. I went like, why is she crying inside my head? What's going on? What's wrong? What did I do? But outside, cool as a cucumber, very placid exterior. And I just stood there, and she turns around to me and she goes, Nicky, you didn't know this, but when you and your little son came to visit with me and my little son in Ottawa, my little son asked me, mommy, like little boys do, all excited, right? Who are we going to go meet, right? And she just looked at him and goes, oh, we're going to go meet Nicky Billou and his son. And she said, all of a sudden, my son became very quiet, very somber. And, the smile went away from his face, and he looked at me all serious, and he said, oh, are we going to go meet the man who saved our family?
Wow. Wow.
And then she looks at me and she goes, you didn't know this, but when I met you, the bank was about to foreclose on our home. We hadn't paid the mortgage in months. My husband and I were fighting, and it looked like we were going to break up.
Wow.
And I started to cry when she said all that. Like, I don't cry, Mac. I'm a big man. I don't cry. Right. And
but that would touch anybody. That would touch anybody,
Yeah.
That would touch anybody. Hey, listen.
I cried.
That's amazing. That's a great story,
Let
right?
me finish
there.
the thought here. Let me finish the
Yeah,
thought.
go for it, my friend.
So she and I hugged. Now, at that point, normally we hand out the registration forms to people to sign up for the program, right? And we handed them out. And normally, some people sign up, some people kind of like hem and haw, and they need some persuasion. They need me to sit down and talk to them. So nobody needed persuasion today. They signed them up. They grabbed the papers. They all signed up, all of them immediately. And this is a high ticket program. This is not, what I mean, $1,000. You know what I'm saying? It's a high ticket program. And there were 2 dudes who had told me beforehand, look, Nicky, this one guy especially, Nicky, look, I know you're going to have an upsell. I know. Listen, I've been around the block, and I know what happens at these. I know you're going to have an upsell. I just want you to know. I don't want you to be disappointed. I'm not going to buy your upsell. I just want you to understand. I'm not going to buy your upsell. You understand?
I've heard that many times. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. No problem. He was the first dude to grab the paper and sign it. First dude of the group.
First one.
And then he walked up to me, he looks at me, and he goes, you son of a bitch.
You got me.
And then he said, I wasn't going to buy this upsell. He said, but I guess you're not full of crap.
Ah, okay. There you
And
go.
then he said, and I do need some help. And he gave me a hug and he signed up. And here's what I learned from that, brother. First of all, you never know what someone's dealing with. You never know. They may not feel comfortable enough to tell you the horrible hell that they're dealing with.
Right.
And you never know what your level of caring, your ability to provide community, your ability to lock arms with somebody and get them past their fear can mean to them and their life. This literally changed their family's life. Right? Like they said it.
You did. You did.
Family.
Absolutely.
You just don't know. And you've got to show up for everybody. Whether they're going to buy from you or not buy from you doesn't matter. What matters is you show up as a son of God, a daughter of God, and you give that person everything in your heart. I pray for God that I am worthy. I am worthy of his charge to be of service to another person. And that's all I ask for every single day.
Wow. There you go. You are doing great work out there, Nicky. You're helping people. You're changing lives. You're changing families. You're doing your mission work. Fantastic. You know, check out Nicky. Remember what he said, www.ecircleacademy.com. Check him out. Make an appointment. Go and speak to him. Ask him a question. Get to talking because these, as he said, communities and speaking. Don't be lonely. If you've got a question, don't stay in denial. Speak and let's see what happens. I want to say, Nicky, thank you very much for jumping on the Business Success Show to share your knowledge, your expertise, your authority with us, because you don't know whose life you've changed just by you being you. So I want to say thank you, and thank you again until we speak again. All right. God bless you, my friend.
God bless you, brother. Thank you.